Welcome to Talking Galactic, where Joyce and Lane Keller deliver real-time, real-world tools to help us out of the manipulated programming and connect to our divine purpose. They do this with the help of master teachers who are actively working to help humanity. Let the demystification of abstract concepts and astral wisdom heal you of disillusionment, inaction, limiting mindsets, and release you from the Matrix stronghold.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talking Galactic with Joyce Keller and myself, Lane Keller. How are you, Joyce?
Terrific, Lane. So exciting to be back. I'm very happy we have so much to cover. This is going to be great.
Really, what's going on in your world, Joyce? Oh, wait, before we go there, I went to my mailbox before and I had a lovely package with a lovely book inside called The Joy of Miracles. Do you know who might have sent that to me?
No, I have no idea.
It's written by somebody named Joyce Keller.
I'm glad that you received it, Lane. Thank you. Thank you for the plug. I appreciate it.
I literally just walked in, so I haven't read it yet, but it is a beautiful book.
Oh, thank you. I have to tell everybody, this is very funny. I had one of my friends very generously say, I know how to get it onto Amazon for you. I said, that's great. But unfortunately, because he was rushing or whatever, half of the book was left off, which is perfectly fine. So half of it is missing. And it ends very abruptly.
No,
it is fine.
It has to be.
No,
I think you're talking about a Kindle, the digital book.
But the hardcover is the same. It ends very abruptly. I just don't have the slightest idea of the technical way that he did it. I was just happy that he got it out there.
Now, do they go to Amazon to buy your book, or is there some other place to buy it in its entirety?
No.
The one I'm looking at seems to be complete.
The word entirety is the issue. They go to Amazon, and then they have a choice of hardcover, which I sent you. If you're a regular Kindle member, there's no charge, or it could be, I think, about $4, something like that. I actually didn't want to charge anything for this book because it came from God and the angels, and I wanted to just get it out there and not charge anyone anything for anyone. So it's like, just get the book and read it.
Let's clarify, though. The book in my hands, the hardcover book, or actually it's a paperback, seems to be complete. It ends in the chapter, Angels to the Rescue with Roulette. Is that the last chapter of the book?
It's the last chapter that Ivan Teller put in the book, and the rest of it was left off. But they're just more anecdotes and more experiences.
Oh, okay.
Fine.
So it's complete for now, this edition. So everyone, you can absolutely get the book, Kindle or paperback, on Amazon, and you'll get the whole thing. It's just that there are some more anecdotes that you can save for your next book.
Absolutely. I have to just say this, of the books that I've written, the 10 books that came before this, none of them really came from me. They came through me. So there are a lot of people who are grieving, and I always say, why don't you get the 7 Steps to Heaven book? That's a whole different book. So this is actually my first book where I talked about my crazy experiences that were out of body and I was the Godhead, that kind of thing.
This is a fabulous book. I'm looking through it. I recognize a lot of these experiences. And what's really remarkable is that you've had, and this is not even touching the tip of the iceberg here, is that you have had such a series of miracles and connections. Did you put in the trip to the Godhead?
I think Ivan included it. If you have to remember, Ivan is my buddy. So when you work with buddies, you wing it. Yeah, it's in there about the Godhead. He squeezed it in there.
It looks lovely. He did a great job. And for anyone who knows Ivan Teller, who's on YouTube, he's a great medium. So he helped you put this together. I think he did a great job.
He did the actual connection with Amazon. He did the technical part of it. But the content was strictly in me. So thank you.
Beautiful. You wrote here about psychopomps. Now, tell me, please, are these psychos in pomps?
But the psychopomp is such a funny word. I have to find out what it really means. Apparently, psychopomps, I think it's an old Greek word, and it refers to the spirit helpers or the guides or the angels who greet people when they first experience death, physical death, as we know. It's really no death. But when they make that physical ending of their life, you have angel greeters, and those are known as psychopomps. So I just love that word. And I just got a kick out of it.
I'm going to have to use that in a sentence now. So, I was visiting my zone when my psychopomp popped out in a pair of beautiful red patent pumps. Is that
No, I don't think. I'm sure. Why not? It's fine with me. But it's such a smart, important word because people have to know that when they pass into spirit and their life ends, that God is so gracious that we have helpers who are there to extend a helping hand, say, come on, come this way. You have nothing to fear. It's going to be great. That's so terrific.
I'm looking through these experiences, and I think the underlying message here for those who want to pick this book up is that it's really about paying attention. It's as simple as that. Pay attention and give validity to those impulses and thoughts that you think are crazy. So, like the oily rag, would you tell the oily rag story?
The oil rag is in there. I think it's in the beginning.
Yeah. Good. Go. Can you
I love that story.
Beautiful story.
Sure. But I'm thinking about a couple of experiences that were left out that I hope we'll have time to cover.
Please.
The first one I could think of was when you and your brother were learning to drive, there were times that you left me with little or no gas in the car. No, it's okay. You probably didn't ask for money or didn't have money to put gas in. So I come running out, and of course I'm late as always. I jump in the car and I realize there's very little gas. So I said, maybe I can make it, maybe I can't. I don't have time to stop. So I start driving on Southern State Parkway on Long Island, and I go out of gas. So I get off, and of all places, I'm at the Pine Lawn Cemetery entrance.
No.
And of course, it's snowing and it's raining. And if people know about Pine Lawn Cemetery, it's one of the world's biggest cemeteries, and it goes for miles and miles in Farmingdale, or Bethpage, whatever. On both sides of the road, there's nothing but mausoleums, tombstones, grave sites, and no gas stations.
It's not a good place. It's so big. It's in both towns.
So I went about a mile into the cemetery, and the car just stopped. So there I am. I'm looking around. There's nothing except cemetery graves on both sides. There's nothing. The road is empty. There's no one there, and it's snowing. Something, this is really nice. Here I am. I'm stuck here, and I really don't know what to do because at that time I didn't have a cell phone. So out of nowhere, a car comes along. So I thought, I don't know. It looks like there are two men in the car. I don't know if I should lag them down or what I should do. I'm standing there in the snow, and they pulled up and they stopped. And they said, looks like you need a hand. And I said, yes. And they said, looks like you need gas. And I said, that's right. And they said, okay, open the gas tank. And I did. And they took out a great big tank of gas, and they filled my tank all the way to the top with gas. And I just stood there watching this. I'm thinking, what's going on? And they filled it up, and I said, thank you so much. What do I owe you? And they said, no, it's our pleasure. And they turned around, and they left, and they were gone. And I looked like in the snow, I really couldn't see where their car went. It was just gone. So I said, thank you, Lord. This is great. And I went on my way. So that's one of my stories that was left out of the book.
Were they angels or were they human? What were they?
Elaine, obviously they were angels because two men coming along, filling your car with gas in the middle of a cemetery.
It's highly unlikely.
Probably. You know, if they were men, I would have seen their car drive away, but it's as if it just went into the snow and it was gone. So you can figure that out for yourself. See, a lot of people have experiences like this, and they say, oh, it was probably just two guys out looking to pick up a woman. Or they make excuses. So I don't come to any conclusions. I just share the experience. and you can decide for yourself.
I had an angel
Yep.
experience like that. I could tell you that the characteristics, it's a fortuitiveness, where things come out of nowhere, and it's a time of need. And sometimes you don't even know you're in that great a need at that exact moment. I had moved to Maryland. There were those crazy sides of the roads where the Civil War soldiers had traveled up and down this North Central Railroad path that went right near our house. And you didn't like that path very much because when you came to visit, you had lots of visitors. Right?
I know. Yes, I remember.
Yes. Just to divert for a second, you were in the car once and we were driving through this road to get to the house, and you were telling us what you were seeing, which were basically soldiers walking along the road. That road is treed and there are steep sides to it and gullies, and there's a hairpin turn. It was a Sunday morning and the roads were empty and it had iced over and I didn't realize it. And I took that hairpin turn and I went into a 360 spin. And then I went down a steep embankment and landed safely between two tall trees, completely, unbelievably safe. Like the one tree on my front bumper and one tree on my back bumper. I slid right in between them. And of course, I was very shaken up. And a man appears out of nowhere. It's a Sunday morning. Everyone's either asleep or in church. He comes, he knocks, and he says, "Are you all right?" I don't know. I guess I'm all right.
Oh my goodness. Oh
And
my
my
goodness.
coffee spilled. Can you believe that was the one thing I focused in on? I said, my coffee spilled.
Oh, Elaine. Oh
But
my goodness.
but he stayed with me. He made it, I guess he got people to come or whatever. I sure wasn't capable of doing it. And he stayed with me until people came. And I don't even remember what happened after that. They towed the car and not a scratch on the car, not a scratch on me. So
I try very hard not to impose opinions or feelings about things like that. I just share, like you're doing, you're just sharing. But I think that's obviously so metaphysical and so beautiful, and it's just an example of the way we're protected. But I think also one of my favorite experiences, I don't believe it's in the book, it has to do with Thanksgiving. And I remember it was very late in the day and the supermarket was closing, and I was having a huge Thanksgiving gathering the next day. So it's like late Wednesday night. And I have you and your brother and a turkey and God knows everything else, all in the wagon, getting ready to check out. And there's so much stuff in there. Like you have all kinds of vegetables and then you have two children. Like you have the whole thing. It's just huge. And I'm online. I'm just standing there waiting. I'm very tired. I'm thinking about getting out of the store and how I'm going to live through Thanksgiving. Standing there waiting to check out. And the man who was behind me online very quietly says to me, "You forgot the butter."
it's amazing.
I grabbed both of you because I didn't know if he was a killer or what at that point. I was just thinking of surviving. So I grabbed you and your brother. He said, "Don't worry." He said, "Leave the wagon, take your children, get the butter, and come right back." So I took both of you, one under each arm, and I ran. I got butter, and I got back online, and the wagon was still there, but he was gone. So it can be, as you know, Elaine, these things are true because you were there. So much of what I wrote about, and I think I did not get that into the book either, but there are so many experiences that we all have. And what really troubles me is that so many people are reading my book and getting back to me and saying, "Gee, I wish that could happen to me too."
Well, that's,
I say, please think back about your life. Think back to what you've experienced, and you will know that you haven't been alone.
exactly.
That there's been so much spiritual interaction. We constantly interact with angels and teachers, and we don't even know it.
That was my point
So,
before, that the interlocking thread of these anecdotes is pay attention, because these things are probably happening to you. If you aren't aware of them, all you need to do is give credence to those subtle, I don't know, what would you call them? Signals. Pay attention. Now, that man who came on the icy road, he could have been living up the hill. He might have been just a regular human guy, but he was in the right place at the right time. And maybe the angels impelled him to go down the hill.
Angels will take people. They'll take whatever they can. They'll take a dog. They'll take a cat. Suddenly a cat who hated you for her whole life will suddenly become a hero. Now, please explain that. Go and save 5 people in a burning building. That's because angels will use that cat as a vehicle. It'll work with whatever they can get. You asked before about the oil burner. When I was about 16, I was living at home with my parents. It was a very cold night, and I was sleeping. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, I felt a little tap on my shoulder when I was deeply asleep. Then I heard a little whisper in my ear saying, "You have to get up now." And I'm thinking, that's exactly what I don't want to do. I don't want to get up now. And so then the voice was a little bit louder. They said, "No, you really have to get up now. Stand up." And I said, they're not going to leave me alone. So I stood up, and they said, "Okay, put on slippers or something on your feet, and you have to go downstairs." I never went into the basement because it was dark, cold, gloomy, and I didn't know what was down there. They said, "Okay, you have to go downstairs to the basement." And well, I walked to the top of the basement stairs. I looked down, and it was very dark. They said, "Okay, turn on the..." When I say they, I'm talking about this little invisible voice that you hear in your ear. It's like an intuitive, telepathic message that we all get. Okay, so they said, "Okay, now turn on the light and go downstairs." I'm thinking, oh, this just gets worse by the second. So I turn on the light, I go downstairs, I'm in the cold, dark, gloomy basement with a little light. And they said, "Okay, now walk over to the oil burner," which was in the far corner of the basement where I really didn't want to go. And I said, "Okay, walk over to the oil burner in the corner." And they said, "Okay, now what do you see?" I said, I see an oil burner." And they said, "What do you see on top of the oil burner?" "I see a pipe." "What do you see on top of the pipe?" "I see an oily rag." And they said, "Okay, now reach up and take the oily rag off the pipe, which is over the oil burner. Because if you don't do that, you're going to have a huge explosion." Because an oil man had delivered oil earlier in the day and left his oil rag on the pipe over the burner, over the oil burner, and it was going into spontaneous combustion. So it was already hot and starting to feel a little smoky. So I suddenly realized what was going on. I came awake quickly, and I grabbed the rag, and I took it down. I had to reach up for it, and I started going upstairs. And by that time, my dad was standing at the top of the stairs, and he said, "Excuse me, why are you in the basement?" So I said, "Look, it's an oily rag and it's smoking." So he said, "Oh my goodness." So he grabbed the oily rag and he took it outside, and I went back to sleep. And that's my story. So that's an obvious time when we're receiving telepathic messages. But it's not always so obvious.
I have a question. So
Sure.
then, thank you. That whole incident brings up the idea, the question as to whether or not there are mistakes. We always said there are no mistakes, right? That everything happens for a reason. It either has a karmic implication or some kind of agreement that you had entered into, etc. So in this case, if the house had blown up, that would have been a mistake. I obviously did not want that to happen. So my question is, how often are there mistakes?
Okay, that's an impossible question with an impossible answer. But I'll tell you, when I had the worst experience of my life, which I think I wrote about in a different book about what happened to me at the beach in Southampton, when I destroyed my faith, it was because I did not listen. Guys came to me during the...
Is that not in the book?
It's not in that book. I think it's in a different one, probably Calling All Angels or a different book. I don't think it's in there. But as an example of not paying attention, some accidents are supposed to happen, I believe. And I don't know the percentage, but we will not get warnings for those accidents.
Right.
Now, if an accident is not supposed to happen, you will receive a warning, as I did, and I didn't listen. I was told not to go out. I was awakened during the night. It was August 18th. I forget the exact year, but I was told to stay in the house for 24 hours and not to go out under any conditions. So I said, sure, it's not a problem. But I saw a really horrendous nightmare with it.
Mm.
I'm sorry, you were saying?
No, because I remember the story and I remember what happened. It was not good.
And I saw that rats were attacking me and tearing open my face. So they said, and there was blood everywhere. So I woke up and I told your dad about it. And he said, look, there are no rats. There are no rats here. There's no blood. Everything is fine. I said, okay, but I can't go out for 24 hours. He said, fine, it's not a problem. The next day, my brother, who was full of joy and full of life, came by and said, let's go to the beach. And I said, let's not. And he said, no, it's a beautiful Sunday. It's August 18th. Let's go to the beach. No, I said, no. And he actually picked me up and carried me to his car and threw me in his car. And my husband followed, along with your brother and nieces, nephews, sister. We were all in the car, and my brother joyfully went to Southampton Beach on Long Island. And I had this overwhelming fear of terror, and I knew something horrible was about to happen, but I knew it was not going to be good because I was going against what I had been told. I went out, and when we got to the beach, my brother said, see, everything is fine. And we started walking along the beach, and we walked about 10 feet, and I was suddenly covered with blood. I had blood pouring out of my face. And I had walked into a piece of rust that was sticking out of a beach wall, and I tore my face open. So I had to have surgery for a number of years, and it was really horrendous. And so that's my beach story, but your angels will give you a guide that you're supposed to follow. And if you go against it, then there may be consequences.
Mm-hmm.
But they do try to help us. They do try to help.
A very disturbing story. And fortunately, I was spared being in the car with you guys that day. So
where were you? You were at NYU probably.
I don't know, but I don't know that I would have enjoyed being there very much. Actually, it's funny. So they had the foresight, or somebody did, maybe it was you, to not get you stitched up at Southampton because they didn't have a plastic surgeon on staff. Didn't someone, whether it was Uncle Joe or Dad, drive on the Meridian? If people don't know Long Island, it's long roads of traffic leading out of the beaches. Long roads of traffic, hours, highway. Okay, so whoever was driving drove on the Meridian the whole way back to find a plastic.
Well, you could figure out who that was because it was the person who was driving and who carried me to the car initially was my brother. So they called ahead to Good Samaritan Hospital, and there was a surgeon waiting for me there. But it was a long distance between Southampton and West Islip.
Sure.
So that's why he drove on the Meridian, and I was bleeding heavily. And your dad was holding a beach towel or something fancy against my face.
It was a very heavy blanket we used as a beach blanket, and it was soaked through with blood.
So if our guides give us a message, you'll say, I don't get any messages. Before we're born, I believe that we're all given at least one guide that never leaves our side. They'll say, oh boy, that's not so good, but it's great. And you know what? You can't possibly do anything that's shocking to them or anything. They're there to help you through this incarnation. It's very hard to go through an earthly incarnation, especially as we go through dimensions now, as we're ending the third dimension, entering the fourth and fifth, and so on.
All right, we need to talk about that. But let me ask you, who is your particular guide that's been with you from the beginning? Do you know which one?
It would be better if I don't mention names, but I'll tell you, when I was drowning in Southampton Lake, when my sister was teaching me to swim, a beautiful angel came to me and told me that it was not my time to go. And I said, gee, I really would like to go. And she said, no, it's too soon. That was a lovely angel, no name. A lot of angels do not have names. They have frequency.
Yeah.
And if you ask for a name, they'll say, sure, it's Angela, whatever. They'll make something up to pacify us. But it was the same thing when I was 18 months old and I was dying of rheumatic fever, that an angel, as my mother was bathing me with alcohol and trying to keep me alive, an angel came and said, Joy, it's time to go. And I could see who it was. Again, it's the same angel. And when I started to go with this angel, my mother grabbed hold of my ankle and said, get back here. You're not going anywhere. This is after being inert for about more than a week. It was very high fever. And that really broke my fever. The fact that my mother yelled so loud, the angel said, oh, let her stay. So I've had many encounters with angels, and we all do. And people say, I don't. Well, pay attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially now, as the ethers become thinner, and you have the desire. See, they don't want to scare us, along with people from other frequencies. Finding a little blue person in your bedroom is not necessarily comforting.
Well,
so we have to be ready.
It's just going back to the names for a second, the angel names. So one time I pressed our Arcturian friends for a name. I really wanted to know what to call them. And they're like, no, you won't understand our name. We don't speak in your earth language. It doesn't make sense to you. I'm like, no, really, I'll do my best. I'll try to understand. And they finally relented. And it was something like, I was just like, unintelligible series of frequencies and sounds. And I'm like, never mind. Thank you.
In most cases, of course, it's their frequency. But in many cases, it will involve numbers. Their names have what we would know as numbers in combination with letters. Like, I'm sorry, I absolutely loved it. He just had a baby and was up on sex charges. And his children were given names in combination with letters. I was so immersed in my own frequency and memory that I totally lost whatever you had asked me.
Right.
I'm not sure, Elaine.
The name
Go ahead.
sometimes a combination of frequencies and numbers and sounds that are not native to our ears.
I'm sorry. Elon Musk named his children letters and numbers together. There was a woman an airline stewardess who was on one of his private airlines who had sex charges against him, even though he paid her $125,000 to be quiet. She revealed it anyway.
Oh, good heavens. What do you think is going to happen on the private airliner of a billionaire?
I would hope he would keep his pants on.
I think that's a little unrealistic.
Probably. That's part of my charm. Being unrealistic.
Okay, so leaving the third density, going into the fifth. Once again, I personally don't want and will not have anything to do with the fourth. Are you in agreement with that, or do you feel that some people still have to pass through the fourth?
Well, the fourth is very important because it's a passageway, and it's a door. We have to go through the door. Now, a lot of us, like you, Lane, are here in service, and you've already gone through this thousands of times so that the frequency has to be raised. So you said, sure, I'll go back again. And that's why you have such a narrow door, and you say, I don't want to go through the fourth frequency again. It's one of passage and of service. So you're not going to go to the fifth and higher. The fifth is basically totally non-physical, where it's astral travel, and it's totally terrific. But the fourth is mostly transit, one to another dimension. You can't go from one room to another without going through something. And that's what the fourth dimension is. So it's there.
I'm not so sure about that. For instance, time travel has been proven scientifically that it can happen. And please don't ask me how, but I don't know the science of it. I know people who do. And we can always have them on if you wish. But my question is, there are ways of transporting this without having to pass through the usual doorways. And the fourth dimension, I have a quibble with, more than a quibble, is because that's where the dark entities hang out. That's where...
Well, we don't know that. Dark entities are everywhere.
Yeah, but they really like the fourth dimension.
I don't know that necessarily to be true, but I honor what you're saying. I think that they especially love the fourth dimension. But I'll tell you this, that definitely the first, second, and third dimension, which is where our primary consciousness on the earth is now. So how would you discount that? They have to be there also.
I think what I'm talking about is that they are in their true forms in the fourth dimension. Here, they are masquerading as human, and not very well. And they are perpetrating dark deeds that are cloaked. Whereas in the fourth, this is my understanding, in the fourth, they are undisguised demons and whatever they are. I don't know. I don't want to say the wrong thing, so I'm not going to say it. But
Sounds good to me.
they get a
Good.
bit. It's like their playground. It's not a playground because it would connote fun. I think it's where they can't get higher than the fourth dimension because frequency can't raise any higher than that. And it's where they freely engage in warfare attacks.
I love what you're saying. I agree with it.
Once I heard that, I said, thank you. I will be passing the other way around.
But don't forget, all right, so you're saying a lot of people are here now. You have the old Bible, 144,000. That number's probably wrong, but the concept is probably right. There are helpers like you, Elaine, light workers, that say, no, I don't want to go to the fourth dimension. If you have to escort people, if there's a time of change on the earth, which may very well happen, it doesn't necessarily happen all at once. It could be a series of experiences that we go through.
Do you think, is there any difference between starseeds, light workers, and seedlings? Because seedlings is the term I heard this week from Rena Jacoby, I believe it was, a message she had received from the Council of Nine about the seedlings will not be touched. That was part of an agreement.
Alex's new baby is probably a seedling. Other people like you are light workers in combination with starseeds.
The seedlings are supposedly alien form here to help.
Very well be. I mean,
but I don't understand how that's different than a starseed of alien DNA.
Yeah, I don't see any difference at all, but I like the fact that she called them seedlings.
Wait, let me get this correct. Starseeds and seedlings.
I'm thinking about the new babies coming in this next year or so. Those are the seedlings. And all it means is that they're just new and hopefully will ignore their parents and bring light to the planet. So a lot of kids like that are coming in.
That's lovely.
So that's I think that's all it means. It's just that they're terrific, but maybe they'll listen to their grandparents.
Yeah, we can dream on. You know what? I would like very much to find out who is here. I know it's the collective and we don't want to name names, but last time Nikola Tesla was here, he said, finally. So I don't want to hold. If anybody has information or they want to talk, I certainly don't want to preclude that.
Oh, absolutely. No, really, is there any news anywhere? I think everyone knows everything, and people have one of two choices. They can say, oh, that's ridiculous, or they can say, I'm on board. Okay, so I'm one of those people that's probably on board because I know that a lot is coming up. So it's time to pay attention, folks, to what your inner guidance is telling you. So you're saying, I don't hear anything because I'm sleeping. Well, you're out of body. That's why you don't remember. I'm sorry, Lane, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I want to know if Tesla's here, Edison, who's here, and do they have any information they would like to impart or share? Or just want to...
Well, they could talk about, of course, they could speak about they could speak about Vanguard, Blackrock. There's a lot going on. Of course, they don't want to bring ego into it. They're trying not to be specific and say, hi, I am so-and-so.
I wanted to say to our friends in the Astral Zone who are speaking with us right now, who are here, it's not about ego, but the people on the planet Earth do respond to knowing who's talking. But I think that they'll accept that this is from a, what would you call it, scientific collective that we're talking
to? Yes, absolutely. It's the Arcturian collective, but they bring in everybody. They're like, come on board, but they will not bring in dark energy. That's one thing. They're very selective.
And they know that messages to relay, anything they would like to share?
Yes. Right now, people are being bombarded. I want to deal directly with the Elohim collective. That's really the God source. Elohim. Okay. They are allowing us to work with the Arcturian collective. So by collective, that means like everybody jump on board. They want to do something about fear. The whole thing now is being driven by fear. And you started out like talking about monkeys. Now we have a new source of fear called monkeypox. I've even seen pictures of monkeypox. They're trying, when I say they, I'm talking about the corrupt drivers of society. Now you can say, oh, it's just coming from, where's this coming from? Okay. coming from universal source, all right? We're seeing pictures, more and more pictures of monkeypox. Everywhere you look, you see pictures of monkeypox. And it's not fatal. They're trying very hard to make it fatal.
Those photos are the same photos that have been around for years. They're of shingles and all sorts of stuff. Go ahead. And also
Absolutely.
the monkeypox was in the vaccines, and they gave it to us deliberately, but it's definitely curable.
It's been around forever. And now they're trying to bring in more fear. Once you have fear and you're living in a place of fear, you're blocking out love, which is the main purpose of our existence on the earth. So fear is going to block out love. And that's why we're so involved with the web and television, radio, whatever. Try meditating, turning off everything. Just go outside, put your feet in grass or water or something, hoping that nothing will bite you. Just kind of sit there, let the sun shine on you, and just listen. Do that a couple of times a day. If you have a problem with that, put on your headphones and tune into the 528 frequency if you wish to do that. That's the most basic frequency.
Who are of, I would say, a Virgo in nature, who don't like to fool around with anything for too long. Like, we like to get it done. We don't have any patience. So the thing that helped me get rid of fear immediately, within one day, was knowing that any kind of negative emotion you feel feeds the dark side. That is their food. So sadness, despair, fear is number one on the list. Tesla said everything is energy. You are creating a bigger energy for them by being fearful. If you see anything on TV, anything on the internet, anyone says anything to you, and it creates a fear inside of you, or something sad or not positive, then you know it's wrong. Automatically know and dismiss it. If it makes you feel joyful, happy, relieved, anything positive, then you can take that on board. And anything else, banish it.
Beautiful. Excellent. That's why the comedy channel is so important.
I'm sorry. They're so stupid. They're so on the wrong path. A couple of them are. It's not, I don't find them palatable because they're making fun of the wrong things in the wrong way.
I know, but if they make you laugh, anytime you laugh, you're raising the frequency on the earth. And sometimes it's very difficult. And in desperation, we have to turn on the comedy channel, even if they are a little of the low vibration.
Looking at silly YouTubes with animals hugging humans and stuff like that, it's always a big uplift. Or even, or even talented people singing and displaying other talents. That's very uplifting.
That's why I said you crazy stuff. We have to find joy wherever we can. What brings you joy, Elaine?
Singing, painting, creating, being around friends, talent. I love talent, pure talent of any kind. I find very inspiring and uplifting. Water's a big one. Being around water.
You're always a great dancer.
I have to go back to dancing one day. So what is our collective saying? What else do they want us to know? So get rid of fear.
I had no idea. I was thinking about you dancing. I was taken away. I was driven to a place of extreme pride. My child was a great dancer. But I think of all the times that you danced and how proud we all were. So I wanted to ask you what you know about Vanguard and Blackrock. Do they have the reputation of control and darkness? Do you think that Vanguard and Blackrock are at the seat of many of the issues on the planet?
I'm not as familiar with Vanguard as I am with Blackrock, but Blackrock is evil through and through. They have many tentacles, and anything really that starts with black or even brown is allegedly connected to this dark octopus working within our society. But Blackrock's been behind so much, and they're hugely into trafficking. They're behind almost everything. As far as Vanguard, I'm not familiar with them. I'm looking them up right now. The first article that came up is Blackrock and Vanguard, the two-headed thing that ate America.
Now, do you think that's really at the base of what's happening?
I think it's just a mechanism. They hide behind these corporate entities to do their dirty work. I don't think Blackrock's behind it. I think Blackrock's a tool.
Do you think Biden is going to be impeached?
See, this is where your desires and your feelings get mixed up.
I like to ask you questions because A lot of them are my desire.
I cannot bear that thing, whatever it is, this babbling idiot that they're trying to pass off as a president being in a position of importance. He's just a mockery. So do I think he's going to be impeached? I think they're all going to be thrown in jail. Let's manifest that one. All of them. Finally. Out of here. All of them. Please feather them. Throw them in the streets naked so they can get some of their revenge. That's what I envision. I have my Carmack the Magnetic hat on right now, and that's what I think.
What about Pamela?
Like Kamala. It's some Iranian guy. They had the picture side by side. It's not even her. I don't know where she is. I don't know where their originals are, if they even exist, if they're in some suspended animation like an Avatar, and then they have these clones that are feeding off their energies and ruining everything for us. Do you know?
I think you said it so well that I don't have to repeat it. Do you know what an avatar is?
An avatar is a master teacher, a true avatar.
Well, they've taken the word and changed it.
They bastardize everything. So what do? We have to flip it back. Take it back.
We know that avatar is really the highest of master teachers.
Yes.
But the way it's being used now is that there's a cosmic person who's us, like in your highest mind, as Lane, whatever your real name is. And then you have Lane who's going through 24/7. That's the avatar. Like the person, is that correct? Is that the way it's being used now? Is that how it's changed?
It's being used in multiple ways that are not accurate. I was referring to the movie Avatar, where they put the human into a suspended animation tank, and then they have the avatar, which is the creature that's attached to them through an energetic umbilical cord, acting out on the surface. So, right. But avatars come to mean the icon. When you're playing those video games, your avatar is your fake person that stands in for you.
A copy. It's a bad copy. Is that what we're dealing with in the third dimension? When they use the word avatar now, it basically means the people running around, working out their destinies. Is that yes or no?
I'm using the term avatar as I know it from that movie, which I thought was masterpiece and so symbolic about what's going on many different levels. The people running around on the surface are really nothing more than a clone or a fake version of the real thing that could have been killed or is being held in suspended. This is what I think it is. They're being held in suspended animation somewhere, and their energy is fueling that fake thing on the surface.
So it's one step away from a clone.
I don't know truly what a clone is. They use some of the genetic material from the original, and they have a shelf life, so they deteriorate. Allegedly, the cloning factories are taken down, which I don't know. But then again, people masquerading literally in masks as Biden or Kamala or whomever, because you can see the masks. They had one of, what's his name, Barr today. I saw one. You see the masks and the wrinkly skin underneath, and it's not them. So that's what I said. What's a clone? What's an avatar, which is feeding off an original's energy? I don't know which is which anymore. Do you?
It's almost as if it doesn't matter because Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are working overtime to change the energy on the planet so it's not human, as we all know. We're working to remove the humanity of mankind. I do believe in God, and I think that ultimately they only can go so far, and then it's only what's allowed for our greater good. And that's what mankind really needs to keep in mind, not to be compromised. I saw something really horrible earlier today. One of my cousins sent me a picture of a couple. He said, watch the video first. A couple dancing beautifully and perfectly, so human and smiling and wonderful, and they were robots. And that to me is terrifying.
So do you feel that Elon Musk's ploy with Twitter, pretending to buy it, then dropping it, what was really at the heart of that?
It's a control issue. What is the question? Obviously, for control.
No,
because
we know that he's here on an AI agenda.
Yes.
So many people thought that him buying Twitter was humanitarian.
It's an issue of control. It's how he can control the masses and how this is why he may not want Trump to be part of it. because he knows that Trump really has a tremendous following and is a source of light, even though he's a little on the shady side because no one is perfect. There are some serious questions there. And I still have faith in God and in our creator, or call it what you will, Yeshua and company, and knowing that it's important to keep light on the earth, keep the joy level high. Don't let yourself go into a place where you say, oh, we're finished, we're doomed. A lot of people are sick now. So many people are sick. They're saying, oh, like 1 billion people are going to die between now and 2031. Predictions are probably wrong. They're put out there either out of sincerity or out of demonic purpose or out of confusion. Even the predictions from Casey. It's anyone's guess because everything changes from second. That's why when I do readings, I say, take it easy with predictions. I know you want to get married. Let's not make any promises about when you're going to actually go to the altar. Like, we'll give it a ballpark kind of thing. Everything is changing.
It's the old monkey's paw syndrome. You remember that short story?
No, tell us.
About what you wish for may not be what you really want.
Sorry, that they missed someone who died. It was missed so much. They said, oh, bring them back. I want them back. I don't care.
You don't want a dead thing out of the tomb, but don't rush it. And be very specific. And whatever you do, be careful of twin flames because that's a really rough journey.
So it's a rough journey with your twin flame?
Well, heck yes. Twin flame is to evolve you fast and furious. That's why they came here. That's why you've re-met. It can be the most combustible, phenomenal relationship on the planet and simultaneously the worst.
So a twin flame should be avoided.
I'm being facetious. I'm just saying when you're asking for your true love, be careful what you're asking for because your true love may be coming back here at this moment in time by prior agreement as your twin flame to help evolve you fast, get you to a higher level. And that kind of experience is not always a pleasant one. That twin flame may be masquerading as a drunkard. And I should say not masquerading, maybe here in a way that is not a pleasant experience. Twin flame relationships are rough.
They're very challenging. They're not necessarily honeymoon time.
No, but if you can make it through the fire, then they can be the best, most sublime on the planet.
That was very profound. I'm glad you didn't ask me a question. I find that very hard to answer. People are out there really looking for their twin flame.
I've seen your mail. I've seen this stuff in my house. I don't think that those are the right questions.
You know what? They're in the third dimension. And it's a place where we all are looking for love or companionship. And then when they experience death, and everybody's so afraid of death, that's why I have worked overtime to understand as much about death as I possibly can. I've had my own death experiences. I've been over on the other side. I know a lot of people who have had death experiences. So you have all of that stuff thrown in with the soulmate thing. When am I getting married? And then, oh, gee, I'm so afraid of dying and I'm so sick. Like we have all the big bowl. And so you take it little bit by little bit. And as we elevate our consciousness and expose ourselves to more and more of what's really going on, we separate ourselves from a lot of the confusion. Maybe we're meant to be alone for a while.
Very well put. I just say, when asking for something, be careful about what you're asking for. Be careful about what you're asking
Absolutely.
for. Be really specific in what you need. Understand what you need and ask for it.
That's certainly true. That's very well said. And don't just be, a lot of people, I just have this very important message that I want to get out there. If you're asking for something, your guides are listening. Your angels really want to help you. They want to work with you. A lot of people will say, I want love, or I want to get married again. How about giving your angels a little help and saying, I would like him to be, like, fill in the spaces, put it down on paper, sleep on it, try to manifest, be helpful to your guides because they don't know everything. Only God is the source of complete knowledge. And then you have free will combined with that. So try to be as precise as possible. On a piece of paper, I'd like to meet someone with a good sense of humor, good breath, a job. Like, make your list of what you would like. And I'd like him to be a little bit taller than I am and be metaphysical. Like, make up a nice list And of course, they may ignore it completely, but at least you're helping to manifest something. You're helping with the manifestation process. So manifestation is really important. And don't be broad in what you're asking for. Nobody said you're going to get it, but at least you can try, and they'll come as close as they can to what you're asking for.
It's a very funny journey that I went on in manifesting a human partner. And I'd be constantly refining the list, constantly saying, nope, that's not the funny I meant. Or when I mentioned highly spiritual and creative, did I forget to include also bathes?
Okay, so you have to say clean and metaphysical.
It's a constant refinement, and it's actually hilarious. I feel like they're just teasing me sometimes.
Okay, that's like with the apartment Battery Park.
Yeah. We talked about it last week. The swimming pool. We forgot to ask for the swimming pool for Dad.
I forgot to ask for the pool, right?
So that became every time we manifested something, which is all the time. It's same with the angels. They're constantly manifesting, all of us. It's the same thing. We'd always laugh and say, oh, I forgot the swimming pool.
It had no pool. It had everything but the pool. But that's such a good example of that.
Yeah, but the bigger joke was you forgot to say, oh, and could we have this beautiful apartment not 2 weeks before the biggest catastrophe that
not before 9/11. No, I'm literally happy.
Which happened literally 3 blocks away. And I'm joking because you were meant to be there at that time.
Sure. So the only thing that was not right was that we forgot about the pool. Your dad still had no pool, and he was an athletic swimmer. I was like, all right, so we have to be a little bit more precise. That was a lesson in trying to be helpful to your angels and thank them. Gratitude is extremely important.
They did a wonderful job. It was a beautiful apartment, and we enjoyed it greatly. It was just very sad for a while as all the spirits passed on their way to the Godhead.
I said it's suspiciously close to the World Trade Center.
Yeah.
And then I said, you have a feeling it's going to come down soon. And it did. So we said, wow, God, you're really something. It's amazing the way so many people knew about it. Our friend John Silvestri had stayed with us a few nights before 9/11 actually happened. And he came out of his room. I said, John, what's wrong? It's midnight. What's wrong? He said, I just had a terrible vision. He said, I just saw people falling right outside your apartment. Okay. I said, oh, yeah, that's probably true. He said, but it's very quiet out there. And then 9/11 happened. So it really was true. He said, I don't want to stay here anymore. He said, I don't even want to sleep here anymore. He said, you have too many dead people around, and that really was true. And they weren't there yet.
But not that it's funny.
They're not even. You know, it is funny because they were happy.
And there's something humorous in everything. That even as devastating as that was, and we all lost people, and it was horrific, we can still laugh about it. We have to laugh. And it is funny the way the spirits came to you afterwards and came floating through the apartment. That is actually very funny. And the fact that you bought this apartment, your lifelong dream, 2 weeks before the towers went down, and you bought it literally like 3 blocks away.
It was so amazing. So many firemen had passed away, and there was such a time of confusion. But I remember him standing next to me as we were facing toward the harbor on the Statue of Liberty, and this light was forming out there. I said, go ahead, go out toward the light. He said, I have these heavy boots on. He was still wearing his fireman's boots. I said, that's okay. I said, you can go. I said, go out toward the light. And then there was a whole line behind him. I know it sounds crazy, but it really is true. He said, oh, look, I can fly with my boots on. And he was out toward the light. He was the first one. And then all these other spirits followed him. Your dad and I said, just go out toward the light. There was this magnificent light next to the Statue of Liberty.
Beautiful story, a beautiful event, and more to be coming your way, folks, in the next week. We're going to try to do these shows maybe every week, if we can swing it. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you to our astral guests. I know you're all here feeding us information as we go, and we really do appreciate it. Love to you. Love to all.
Thank you very much, and much love.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Talking Galactic with Joyce Keller and Lane Keller. To connect with Joyce and Lane or to check out our other shows, head to lifesource.global. And don't forget, hit the like, subscribe and share buttons. This show has been brought to you by Source Light Productions.